Hi! Today we're going to be discussing how hustle culture has incorporated some spiritual and psychological language and turned it into a productivity machine. How does it do it exactly?
Get back to fucking work. It's time to get back to work. Stop hearing yourself talk. Get off the podcast. Don't be on social media too much. Cut out all the fucking noise. Get back to the fucking mental lab.
I'm Jackie, and in this channel, my goal is to give you information that's useful, neutral, and that helps you think critically. If you are exhausting from all the noise online and you just want to regain your power to think for yourself, so please subscribe if that's something that is of interest to you. Some of the original ideas are reasonable. Your beliefs do affect your behavior, your environment does influence you. Taking responsibility matters, hope matters, community matters. Then those ideas get translated into believe harder, produce more, don't question the system. If you are failing, work on yourself. And that's the part that I find interesting. Because hustle culture often presents itself as a rebellion against capitalism. Escape the rat race. Quit making somebody else rich. Become financially free. But the solution that it offers is often work constantly, monetize yourself, build a personal brand, recruit other people under your MLM, buy courses, network relentlessly. Turn your personality, your story, and your relationships into economic opportunities. So instead of escaping the machine, you become an even more committed participant in it. The boss may be gone, but now you internalize that boss because nobody has to tell you to work overtime anymore. You yourself feel guilty when you are not building, when you are not productive. And this is where it's all insidious because personal empowerment turns into personal blame. Empowerment says your choices matter, but self blame says your choices explain everything. Empowerment says context matters too. Blame says context is an excuse. And the reason that I'm interested in this is because I didn't arrive here from an outsider point of view. I myself got caught up in some of these ideas myself. In January of 2020, right before the pandemic hit, I quit my job as a graphic designer because I wanted to dedicate my life to empowering people using tarot cards. I built a website, became a professional reader, sold readings and paintings, and immersed myself even more deeply in spiritual and self development. And some of it genuinely helped me. But I also started noticing something I couldn't reconcile. I could tell people to show up consistently, trust themselves, work through their limiting beliefs, and stay aligned. But I struggled to follow that advice myself. And instead of asking whether something about the framework was incomplete, I turned that problem inward, just like I was told to do. Maybe I needed a better mindset. Maybe I still had limiting beliefs. Maybe I was not aligned enough. Maybe I just needed to start producing content and stop thinking so much. But still, something about that felt wrong. I was listening to my clients talk about grief, money problems, relationships, fear, trauma, and circumstances where they genuinely had all odds stacked against them. And I just could not look at someone in pain and tell them that essentially this was happening because of their limiting beliefs. Because that sounded eerily very close to another idea that I reject myself, which is everything happens for a reason. God works in mysterious ways. In both cases, randomness, suffering, and uncertainty could always be explained after the fact in a way that protected the belief system. If something worked, the philosophy got validated. And if something didn't work, well, somehow you were the problem. It was never a systemic issue. Don't question it, surrender to the system. It's your fault. Work harder.
Don't complain. Don't talk negative. That's average people talk normal. Average people talk problems. The greats talk solutions.
So, yeah, I had a huge problem giving people these detached platitudes. I instead listened to them. I validated them. I tried to understand their actual circumstances. And ironically, that left me depleted, drained, and increasingly isolated. Because I still thought that my own difficulty must mean that I wasn't good enough at my job. I became obsessed with being aligned, high vibe, healing, meditating, and trusting the universe. And while I was doing all of that, I wasn't executing very much in my actual life. I wasn't consistently putting my work out there. I wasn't building a reliable system. I wasn't dealing directly with some of the practical problems making me unhappy. Whenever something wasn't working, there was always a spiritual explanation available. Maybe my vibration was off. Maybe I was resisting. Maybe I wasn't aligned yet. Eventually, discomfort itself started to feel like evidence that something was wrong. Hard conversations, difficult people, stressful situations, anything that disrupted my peace could be labeled as something I needed to remove because it wasn't adding to my life. And ironically, that only made me more fragile and more isolated. So I had to relearn something very simple. Discomfort is not automatically toxic. Struggling doesn't automatically mean that I'm out of alignment. Sometimes some things feel hard because it is hard. Sometimes the answer isn't another ritual, affirmation, meditation, another course, don't buy courses, or a mindset adjustment. Sometimes you need information, sometimes you need other people, sometimes you need to take action, sometimes you need money, sometimes you need a plan, and sometimes you just have to accept that reality contains a level of uncertainty that no amount of positive thinking can completely control. That's why I'm not interested in mocking people who believe these ideas. I believed many of them. What I am interested in doing now is ask the question, where does empowerment end and where does it quietly become? Self blame, avoidance, or just another system telling us that if we are struggling, it's simply because we have not optimized ourselves enough. Because trust me, that will always be the answer. You haven't healed enough. You have not worked hard enough. You have not fixed your mindset. You have not built enough. You're not coachable. You haven't believed enough. And I'm interested in breaking that spell because I think that hustle culture has become extremely good at turning people into willing agents of the very system they believe they are escaping. And again, it doesn't usually hook you with complete lies. It obviously hooks you with half truths because your mindset does matter. True. Hard work matters. True. Your choices matter. Absolutely. It's so insidious because those truths get stretched into if you succeed, well, the system clearly works. But if you fail, it's all on you. You failed. Oh, and they also reframe failure as nothing. It's just another way to learn. Again, another half truth. Because it never allows you to question the system. It's always your fault. It's abusive. It's toxic. It's exploitative because it becomes an unfalsifiable belief system. Every possible outcome can be explained in a way that protects the philosophy from criticism. You made money? See, it works. You didn't make money? Well, you didn't believe enough. You burned out? You weren't disciplined enough. You followed everything they told you and it still didn't work? Then you must have a limiting belief still. So, at what point are we allowed to examine this system? Because we are supposed to stop thinking so much, stop questioning, and just execute. Work harder, build more, monetize more. And if you're exhausted, well, you gotta optimize your sleep so you can get back to producing. And I and let me tell you this: nothing that I'm saying is against work. Nothing that I'm saying is against ambition. I do believe in hard work. But what I reject is selling people the idea that everyone starts with the same opportunities, faces the same obstacles, and therefore they get exactly the outcome they deserve. That is simply not true. Housing costs matter, wages matter, family wealth matters, education matters, health matters, geography matters, childcare matters, timing matters, luck matters. Who already own assets matters. And we have data that allows us to examine those things. This is what bothers me so much about hustle culture because they will give you hours and hours and hours of mindset, indoctrination, influence. They will give you endless testimonials, success stories, motivational speeches. But where are the denominators? How many people tried and how many succeeded? How much did they spend? How many started with money? How many had support? How many just disappeared quietly when it didn't work? Because look at this successful person. It's not evidence that everybody had the same probability of becoming that person. Not only that, wealth has become extraordinarily concentrated. Seriously, billionaires should not exist. Workers have watched productivity, technology, automation, and corporate profits grow and grow while many people still struggle with housing, healthcare, childcare, savings, and retirement. And a tremendous amount of modern technology development has also depended on publicly funded research infrastructure, government contracts, and taxpayer investments. So when private wealth is created on top of public wealth, I think we are allowed to ask who is getting the upside? Who carries the risk? Who's getting subsidized? Who gets told you should have worked harder? And no, 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 no. Do not gaslight people telling them that those are just excuses. Those are economic questions. And when somebody refuses to discuss those questions and instead just keeps hitting you on your insecurities, you're not successful enough. You're not disciplined enough. You are too negative. You're just afraid. Just buy the program. Join the team. Come to the seminar. Fix your mindset. I think we should really recognize what's happening. That is not empowerment anymore. That's blame being packaged into empowerment. And when somebody is benefiting financially from convincing vulnerable people that every failure is evidence of a defect inside themselves, well, I think that practice can become extremely exploitative, insidious even, because it just does not feel like someone is taking power from you. It literally feels like somebody giving power to you. So, yeah, that is the spell that I'm interested in breaking. The spell that has you believing that everything that happens, it's all absolutely on you. I'm not trying to break the spell on ambition, on entrepreneurship, on hard work, but the idea that struggling people deserve their struggle because they have not optimized themselves enough. I believe much more in community. I believe in giving people good information, helping them understand their options, and letting them make decisions with their eyes open. And that's partially why I work in real estate. I represent people in San Diego and Riverside County, Temecula, Murrieta. And my job is not to convince everybody to buy a house or sell their house. And absolutely, I'm not trying to convince people that buying a home is going to automatically make you wealthy. What I want is to help the person in front of me understand the transaction, the financing, the risk, the numbers, and whether it actually makes sense for their life and their goals. So, if that's the kind of representation that you're looking for in your real estate transactions, send me a message. I am going to continue investigating these systems because the next time that somebody is promising you freedom, I want you to know exactly what they are asking you to believe in exchange for it. On my next video, I'm probably going to be talking to you about one of the topics that started this whole thing for me because I went undercover on an MLM recruiting, meeting, one of those. And I'll tell you how so they try to apply all of these tactics on me, but I am already uh, too wise to fall for them. So, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.